What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be hopping back into Showdown to do another team building video, and we're going to be looking at Groudon today. So this is now the second go around in Regulation G, and now I think we're at the point where we can look at Groudon as a whole and see where we stand with it, because now this is the second month of Regulation G 2.0, so technically 5 months in for this format. So if you look back into the first format, for Regulation G, Groudon didn't get all that much usage, okay, and for good reason. But now all of a sudden in the second, we'll call it Regulation G 2.0, Groudon has seen an uptick in usage, and that's because Miraidon is still very, very strong and has seen a lot of play in Regulation G 2.0. So Groudon matches well into the Miraidon, basically almost forcing this thing to Terra, which is, Fairy, the most popular Terra on Miraidon, right? So, Groudon in that sense can give you that matchup, okay? Now, as far as like Koraidon is concerned here, so what is the difference between like Groudon and Koraidon? Because they're both going to give you the sun. The Groudon gives you the more positive matchup into Miraidon, whereas the Koraidon gives you a little bit better of a matchup into Terrapagos, right? Because you have that fighting coverage, you can always one-shot it. So Koraidon can give you that. But again, just looking at the speed and the stats, obviously Koraidon is the much faster restricted. It's a base 135, just like, Miraidon and, Flutter Mane and Chien-Pao, whereas Groudon is a little bit slower. Actually, it's a lot slower, right? 45 base speed, but the bulk is there, right? 140 defense versus 115 defense, 100 SpDef, a little bit more than Groudon's 90. But again, that ground solid typing is going to be good for that Miraidon matchup. Now, the main things you have to worry about is, of course, Rillaboom and something like Urshifu Rapid Strike outside of the sun. But you can play around those matchups a little bit more easier, right? And, the one thing that you have to accept with Groudon is, when you click Precipice Blades, you have to understand that you're going to miss some of these, right? You're not going to hit all of them. 85% accuracy just isn't all that amazing, but it's not terrible, right? If I told you you had an 85% chance to win the lottery, are those good odds? Absolutely. So it was just like more or less a balanced component back when Ruby and Sapphire came out. But, the horses, they don't have any drawback either, right? With the Calyrex clicking Glacial Lances and Astral Barrages. So, there's always this discourse for saying, like, why can't these guys get accuracy debuffs, or why can't Groudon and Kyogre hit their moves, right? Whereas Calyrex, they don't have to worry about this. So that's a discourse for another day. But again, we're here talking about Groudon here. So the main thing you also have to watch out for Groudon is, of course, the Kyogre matchup, which, Kyogre has also seen an uptick in Regulation G 2.0, just like Groudon, but even more for the Kyogre. And of course, the Calyrex-Ice Rider is always going to be problematic. And that is like one of the main questions that you have to answer as a Groudon/Koraidon player, is how do you deal with the Ice Rider? Because this is the one thing that can really put pressure on you, even more so than the Kyogre. And, the Trick Room is just something that you also have to deal with in a nutshell. And to get you help with this, you're going to need to rely on your partners. Now, that being said, you always have this Terra Fire idea with Groudon to be able to resist the Glacial Lance. And this is where they have to go for their other ground move. Usually it's a high horsepower to hit the Groudon with. So, it's just forcing one over the other, right? But do you have the partners to deal with the Ice Rider? You do, okay? And we're going to talk about those in a second. But, just looking at Groudon stats, I mean, again, base 150, very, very strong. And, you're not really going to be worried about Incineroar all that much because you have the Clear Amulet item on the Groudon here. And from here, you can always just use something like Heat Crash in the sun. It's going to do a lot of damage, obviously. And then from here, you're going to go with Protect, of course. And then this last move slot here, it can be a couple things. You can go with Bulk Up here to give yourself a defense boost along with the attack boost, right? Because without any kind of damage boost, Groudon's damage sometimes is a little bit lacking, but it's still like very strong, base 150, of course. Otherwise, if you are still worried about clicking Precipice Blades and you just really only need one target to die, this is where people have opted for high horsepower instead. So this way, you get a single target that's a little bit more reliable as opposed to Precipice Blades there. So I have seen this, of course, and this is another way to consider Groudon usage here, right? So Terra Fire Groudon here with P-Blades, Heat Crash, high horsepower / the bulk up is one way. The other way that has seen a little bit play as of late is the Assault Vest Groudon here. So you've seen this on the Chinese Groudon team, which we can show you in a bit when we start looking at like team composition wise. But usually with this Assault Vest, you're looking at P-Blades, okay, you're looking at Heat Crash, You're looking at a single target ground move like High Horsepower. And usually this move, this next move is something like Thunder Punch here, which is pretty good for something like Urshifu Rapid Strike where you can just smash them. So, you know, something like this is really nice. And then having this Assault Vest just lets you sit into stuff like Calyrex Shadow Rider or even like Kyogre to an extent and just be able to take those attacks and live and then get off your own attack here. So I think these are the two best Groudon ideas right now, you know, in terms of the Clear Amulet and the Assault Vest for a little bit more extra bulk. Now, that being said, you know, your partners, okay, these are going to be similar to what you would do with Koraidon, okay, but you do have some options in terms of how you want to play it. And it all depends on, do you want to play fast? Do you want to play slow? Or do you want to play a little bit more balanced, right? And depending on which style you play, your team composition is going to be a little bit different, okay? So what we're going to do first is look at Groudon's popular partners, and then we'll see how these partners can come together in a couple of teams, okay? So let's take a look. All right, to start things off here, anytime you're using a Sun type, you know, you always have to consider the Protosynthesis partners. So it's easy to start things off with Flutter Mane and the Raging Bolt here, okay? And this is almost what you would do with even Koraidon to an extent, right? So these Flutter Manes are always going to be like the support set, you know, with Moonblast and Icy Wind, and then they'll just have Protect here. And then this third move is really up for grabs. Sometimes you'll see Thunder Wave, which is really good. Extra speed control that lasts even if you switch it out, right? Because sometimes, you know, with Icy Wind, yes, you'll get the speed drop, but then if they just switch it out, then they can just reset that. But Thunder Wave stays with you, and you stay with the paralysis, and then that can win you the game in the long run, because if they get that key paralysis turn, then they're kind of cooked there from, right? So with Flutter Mane here, this is what you'll see, and then usually this will be something like a Focus Sash, and then Raging Bolt here. This can be a lot of different things. You can, if you're gonna go Amulet here, you can definitely go Assault Vest on this Raging Bolt here, and then usually this will be something like Volt Switch first, with Thunderclap. Okay, and the whole idea is if they change your weather on you, what you can do is hard switch the Groudon, and then click Volt Switch, and then go back into the Groudon and get your weather back all in the same turn, right? So you can definitely do that. And then this is just something like, you know, Thunderbolt and then Draco Meteor. Just to round it out here. Sometimes you'll see something like, Weather Ball over here, you know, not over the Thunderbolt, but just in general. And then you'll also see something like Electro Web, just for a little bit more speed control. So to each their own, however they want to play the Raging Bolt there, but these are just some options to consider if you want to play the Bolt, right? You know, along with a Groudon team here. So you'll see like Protosynthesis partners like this. So that's already, you know, the core of the team, right? How can I enable my partners here? And that's really the role of Groudon and Koraidon, is that they enable their partners like this. So, you know, you're going to get a modest boost here, a special attack boost here, and then Flutter Mane will get a speed boost at the same time here, just because you're going to be probably running 252 on this. So you can get the speed control in that sense. Another way to also play the Groudon is to actually, you know, use something like this with Chien-Pao and Entei. We've seen this before also with Koraidon here. But again, you know, with Chien-Pao being able to pressure with Ice Spinner / Icicle Crash, you can blow up terrain, especially against Miraidon and Indeedee and Rillabooms. And then Entei just hits so hard in the sun. You can't intimidate the Entei or the Groudon because of the Clear Amulet and the Inner Focus. And then Sacred Fire doing huge damage in the sun. Combine that with the Choice Band item, which is usually what they have here. It's going to hurt a lot. And then you add the Chien-Pao at the same time. You know, if you can pivot out the Groudon into the Chien-Pao, the Sacred Fire is picking up a lot, even if they do resist it. And then usually these Enteis are just going to be something like, you know, Terra Normal with extreme speed here. And then after that, it just depends on how they want to run the Entei. But this is just another way to utilize the Groudon core, where you're just relying on the Pao Entei idea. So a little bit more physical, whereas the first kind of core we showed you was a little bit more in terms of the special attack damage. Then another thing that some of these Groudon teams also like to do is just use the Ogerpon-Hearthflame. And then again, just a strong fire type in the sun is usually what you want. You'll see something like Ogerpon, you'll see something like Chi-Yu over here, even something like Incineroar to an extent, right? So a strong fire type in the sun is going to be good, because again, when you have the sun, you're going to do a lot more stronger fire type damage. So sometimes Incineroars will run Flare Blitz, this will run Heat Wave or even Overheat, right? You nuke something, and then the Ogerpon still has the option for the Ivy Cudgel, and then this will help you into the Rillaboom matchup a little bit, right? So, you know, a strong fire type with Groudon is a thing, and then we just saw Entei, right? So, you know, it just it just all depends on the options that you want to go with and how you want to play the Groudon here. But, you know, something like this, you know, with Ogerpon here, and then you could just round it out with Flutter Mane and Raging Bolt over here, right? And this is just a very easy core to start out with, right? These 4, and then these last 2 slots, you know, it's just up for grabs here. So you could definitely do something like those guys. Okay, the next thing you also want to consider is one of your chlorophyll users, right? So we've seen already the jump pluff stuff, you know, from Joe's team, right? You know, with the sleep powder plays, the tailwind plays, the manual sun plays. This is all going to be really good here, right? Because when in doubt, you know, sleep powder it out, right? Because sleep powder gives you a way out into a matchup or a particular turn that just really doesn't look all that good, right? So if you land that sleep powder, you basically take out 1 slot for at least a turn, right? And then that'll help you with positioning later on. Or if you can KO another partner while one partner sleeps, that's going to be really, really good here. And stuff like Jump Pluff is just going to give you speed control here. So something like that's going to be really good. We've also seen stuff like Tornadus and even Whimsicott here. Again, these are just all your Tailwind Sunny Day partners, right? And that's good because, again, Manual Sun is going to be very important, right? Because sometimes, you know, when you have a Groudon and you're going against the Pelipper teams, okay? Or if you're going against Tornadus Rain Dance, they just manually click Rain Dance, and it doesn't matter how many times you switch out your Groudon, they're just going to click Rain Dance and your weather is gone. So, you know, you need your own manual weather, you know, for your Groudon team, okay? If you choose to play that way. And these are the best guys to do it. So you'll see something like this, and then this is where like those Flutter Manes and Chius and Ogerpons are really going to help because, again, Tailwind plus a hard-hitting fire type attack with the Sunny Day is just going to do a lot of damage there, right? So we've seen that. And then besides the Jump Pluff here, another chlorophyll user is the Venusaur. We just did a video on Koraidon Venusaur, right? And in that video, you saw how I clicked Sleep Powder into those Calyrex-Ice Rider teams. And I was able to make them stall out their Trick Room turns just because, you know, they're spending their Trick Room turns napping, right? So Venusaur looks really good here. And what's also pretty cool, you know, with Groudon and Venusaur, you know, especially against the Miraidon teams, is if they want to Terra out, right? Because they don't want to die to a ground type attack. Usually they're Terra Fairy. Now you have a super effective poison move for that. And you have that pin, you know, with the Groudon and the Venusaur here, right? So then you just have stuff like Weather Ball here. You can even do stuff like, you know, Leaf Storm, you know, just solid grass type coverage in general. But this is another way to look at it just in terms of, you know, having a chlorophyll partner that can take advantage of the speed and then just sleep things, right? So I do like that. Then just in terms of another way to boost up your Groudon, we have seen this already. We've started to see now the Gouging Fire with the Howl boost here. So this is like the alternate Entei, of course. So with Howl, now Groudon's going to get this boost, right? And they're both going to be doing, you know, big damage, right? The other way that you can also do it if you don't have bulk up here is if you can go with the coaching idea. And we've seen coaching from something like, what was that thing called? The Iron Valiant, right? Yeah, I have seen a couple Groudons with the Valiant, right? So what's really cool here is this will help you into the Ice Rider and the Shadow Rider matchup too, because the Valiant gets coaching, which is going to help the Groudon, right? And imagine if this Groudon had a Sulfess, right? So now you have a special attack damage reduction, and now you also have physical attack damage reduction because you're getting a defense boost here. But then you get Wide Guard. So now the Calyrex-Ice Rider cannot click Glacial Lance. Now the only thing it can really click is that high horsepower, and Groudon doesn't really care about that. So in that sense, you have the pressure of clicking Heat Crash into an Ice type Pokemon, forcing the Calyrex now to Terra, and you will win that matchup if it cannot click Glacial Lance. So, you know, the Valiant looking really good there. Booster energy, of course, to help you outspeed things. But again, Valiant can also do that for you, right? If you don't go for your own bulk up set, right? So these are all partners that are really good with Groudon, and to an extent, the other Ogerpon too. The Cornerstone, just having Sturdy, again, just to help you redirect things. Good solid damage into flying types, because again, when Groudon wants to click a ground move, if you pivot out into a flying type, you can't really hit it all that well. So then you have rock type coverage to help you create that pin as well. So this is where the Ogerpon can help you in that sense. And we've seen Ogerpon also be useful on those Koraidon teams, right? But when I say Ogerpon, I mean the Cornerstone that you see on the screen here. So lots of partners that you can consider here. And there's another partner that I spoke about in our underrated niche Pokemon video, and that's Umbreon here. And I really like Umbreon, you know, just because, again, it's super slow and it's super bulky too. And the whole idea is that with Yawn and Foul Play, you create a lot of damage and pressure into both Calyrex, okay? Because you can do Foul Play into the Ice Rider, you can Foul Play the Shadow Rider, you can Yawn things in Trick Room. So now they have to make a decision whether they switch out or they go to sleep. And then, because you have the Sun, you have longevity with this Moonlight. So now if you run Safety Goggles here, Amoonguss can't really do much to you. And then you just heal with all this weather, and the Umbreon just gets very difficult and annoying to remove because all it's just clicking now is just Yawn and Foul Play, forcing you to go to sleep, forcing you to keep switching out. You're not going to be dealing damage if you're switching out and going to sleep. So this is where something like Umbreon looks really good if you want to go in terms of that direction, right? So yeah, then there's one last underrated partner that you can also consider that doesn't really see that much play, but can see some play a little bit more later on, is these guys, the Walking Wakes and the, what's the alternate Amoonguss version? The Brute Bonded, right? Yeah, these, you know, we saw this from Michael Zhang's team, right? But again, Walking Wake, this will also help a little bit more into Kyogre sometimes, just because you quad resist the water damage. And then the Brute Bonded, same thing. You know, you are a Grass and a Dark type. You can pressure the Ogre. You can pressure the Calyrex Shadow Rider because you have that Dark damage. And then you still have Rage Powder and you still have Spore, right? So you can always use these moves to help support Groudon and the rest of the partners. So I do like this to an extent. You can lead both of these and just have Groudon switch in on any slot depending on the situation. But yeah, so, you know, depending on what partners you pick with Groudon, the rest of the team will follow, but at least you understand why people would choose the partners that they do pick, just for in terms of how they want to play their squad. So what we're going to do is we're going to build 4 Groudon teams just to get you started and just to give you, you know, something to use if you really wanted to use Groudon here, because sometimes building with B restricteds like Groudon can be a little bit difficult, especially if you don't have a matchup into that Shadow Rider. All right, so we'll start with one of our basic builds, and then we'll do a couple test games, and then we'll show you the other 3 builds. All right, so let's take a look. All right, we'll start with the Amulet set first here with the Bulk Up and the Heat Crash. So from here, again, we're just gonna look at the Protosynthesis partners just to keep things easy and standard and straightforward, right? With the Flutter Mane and the Raging Bolt here. What? That's a Flaffy. All right, here we go. So Raging Bolt, Flutter Mane here, and then honestly just the Ogerpon-Hearthflame. I think, again, just having a good solid fire type with Groudon looks pretty standard here. So I like these 4 just to come up with the composition of the squad. And then because we have the Amulet here, that means there's no Assault Vest on this Groudon, which means we can put that Assault Vest on this Raging Bolt here. And ideally, I still want that Volt Switch. I want that Thunderclap along with the Thunderbolt, right? So we still have a little bit of priority for us. And then the Draco Meteor. So this way we can always pivot if we have to reset our weather. Then the Flutter Mane will be that Focus Sash set like we talked about. And then just standard Moonblast with Icy Wind. Okay, and then Protect. Now, you can go Thunder Wave here if you like the Thunder Wave. Otherwise, I like a fast Taunt here. So sometimes, you know, just being able to deny Protect or some setup move or some non-damaging move here can be really good and really clutch. So I think just having Taunt here, and again, also like just denying the Calyrex from clicking Trick Room is going to be important. So I do like this. But if you want Thunder Wave, then feel free to definitely go for that. The Ogerpon here, again, just also relatively standard with the Ivy Cudgel, the Wood Hammer. Then, you know, just follow me and Spiky Shield, right? I like this. And then this last 2 slots here, so I still want a little bit of speed control here. So I still like Farigiraf, just being able to deny priority stuff. I have seen Indeedee with some Groudon teams there. I think you can also do that. But I just also think with Safety Goggles and Armor Tail, just denying, you know, priority in general, you know, because again, you do have a Raging Bolt here, so you can't really protect. So sometimes Farigiraf can be really clutch in that sense. And then just having the Foul Play, Helping Hand, Trick Room, and then the Psychic Noise is also, you know, relatively helpful. You get to snipe Amoonguss this way, because sometimes Amoonguss can give some of the squad a little bit of trouble, especially if it's like Terra Water. That does mean you're a little bit more relying on the Raging Bolt there. But yeah, I have also seen Imprison on the Farigiraf. So if you also want to go like Imprison with just Foul Play, then you can definitely do that. So this way the Calyrex cannot click the Trick Room. So that's another thing you can do. And then just from here, you can just go like Terra Water if anything. You can go Terra Ground. Either way, the Farigiraf can give you something just in terms of threatening that Trick Room against the Tailwind teams, and then just being able to flip the Trick Room, in the Trick Room matchup, right? And then this last slot here, so I was thinking about this. So I have, this core 5. So I was deciding either between something like Garganical, okay? Or I was also deciding between something like a Hariyama here. And I'll tell you why. And there's pros and cons to both. But the whole idea is that Hariyama has thick fat here. And I have seen this in some online tours, and it did make sense. So what you can do with Hariyama with the Rocky Helmet idea is that you can run thick fat, which means you're not going to be taking that much damage from fire or ice type attacks. So you can literally sit in front of the Ice Rider and say, this is garbage damage. And then what you could do is you still have close combat, right? Along with Wide Guard and Fake Out, okay? Which is really good because, again, the Wide Guard is going to help pin those Ice Riders and those Shadow Riders to an extent where they can't click their signature moves. And then you also still have close combat to hit the Terrapagos with, right? A strong fighting coverage mon. And then just Fake Out pressure just to help you set up the bulk ups, right? So you can definitely do that. And then this last slot here, it could be Knockoff, just so that you can also have some dark type coverage for the Shadow Rider, because other than Foul Play, we don't really have a whole lot. Otherwise, we just have to like either outspeed it, okay? But I do like Hariyama in this sense, and then just something like Terra Dark here or Terra Poison, something like that here. But I do like Dark, again, just something to help you against, some particular matchups. But, if you want, you can also just go like Terra Steel here. That can help you against the Fairy and the Flying weakness. So you can definitely do something like this with Hariyama. And then at the same time, if you don't like the Hariyama, if you want the Garganical instead, I think Garganical also works out relatively well. Just because... sometimes Groudon can hit those flying types relatively well, with just P-Blades, and sometimes Heat Crash just doesn't work out here. So Garganical still gives you Wide Guard, okay? And now you have Sulcure, so now you're just dealing chip damage over time. And then what you can do is just have Recover and just have this 1v1 scenario where you can beat the opponent here, and then just something like Leftovers and Protect here. So you still have Wide Guard here, and then you also get a decent Trick Room matchup because this thing is slower than the Ice Rider in Trick Room. So what you can do is just go for Sulcure, the turn they go for Trick Room, and then just keep clicking Sulcures, right? And then just alternate your Protects and whatnot, and the Calyrex will be taking a lot of chip damage overall, right? And I like what Garganical is looking at in the meta right now, just because of all this bulk here, right? And this defense here. So you could either do something like Terra Water here. You can also do, Grass Terra, for the ground weakness. Lots of different things you can do with the Garganical Terra type, but it really just all depends on you. But I feel like if you do this, then take away the bulk up and just go like high horsepower. So this way you don't have as much opportunity to set up. You just have redirection here. You don't have to Fake Out anymore from the Hariyama. But if you go with the Hariyama, then you can definitely just go with the bulk up set here, right? Just to make yourself a little bit beefier, and then have Fake Out on your team, right? So you have Fake Out pressure here, all right? You have redirection here. You have speed control with the Trick Room and the Icy Winds, okay? And if Thunderbolt, if you choose to go for it, right? So you have a lot going for you, okay? And this is how I want to play this team. So the Hariyama will come into a lot of those spread room games, just because Wide Guard is so good, okay? And then just being able to remove key items with Knockoff is also quite good here, right? So I do like this Rocky Helmet, and this is what I was testing originally. But if you want to go with the Garganical set, you can definitely do that. All right, now in terms of EVs, so with bulk up here, I don't have to go max attack per se, but I still want to go Adamant here. So I'll just start with like Adamant 156, and then some speed investment here. So I still want to be faster than something like a Pelipper. So either you go with the 118 idea, okay, with this much speed, or you go for the timid Pelipper and then just go with something like this, right? And this is already going to be enough for the Pelipper stuff. So I think either of those speed benchmarks are going to be good for the Groudon here. I ran it a little bit faster, so I ran it like this. So if you want to keep it like that, you can. But from here, just put 1 point each, right? And then just dump the rest here into HP, right? And that's our Groudon set. Now, that being said, what you can also do is, you know, with this bulk up here, you can go for your even numbers here. So if anything, you can just take away, you know, 1 point in the HP and then just go with 164 in the attack stat to get a nice even number here. Or you can just take 1 more point here and then put it in the defense here. And then this will also give you a nice solid even number there, just to round out your Groudon bulk here, okay? The Raging Bolt here. So I still want to be able to go modest here, but the main thing is I want to survive the Glacial Lance and then the Ice attack from the Chien-Pao, and that's going to do it with this investment here. So 188 gives me that optimal Rillaboom number for Grassy Terrain Recovery, factor of 16, right? And then the rest comes from the 140 investment in defense, and that will let you live the Ice type attacks from the Chien-Pao and the Calyrex-Ice Rider here. I'm going to go to 124 here, just so that I get a nice solid hold number with the Protosynthesis boost, and about 52 investment there for the Spadef to get the nice even number. But this also lets you live the Earth Power from Timid Landorus, so I figured, yeah, let's go for that. Terra Electric can be okay here, right? If anything, you can also just go like Terra Fairy here, you know, just in case of the Miraidon matchup, you know, if they want to click Draco Meteor. So I think that's also pretty good here. Flutter Mane here, this is just going to be straight 252, 252, right? We'll just go Timid here. In terms of a Terra, I just think Terra Fairy is just going to be solid. You know, a little bit more damage with the Moonblast is okay. Ogerpon here. So I like this thing outspeeding Ogres. So I still went Adamant here, but I didn't go that much attack. I just went about Adamant 76, and I went to about 212 speed. You know, this will outspeed the fast Kyogres, right? The timid 252s, because they cap at 156. So I went to 157 to always have the speed advantage there. And then this 164 investment along with 52 defense, this also gives you another factor of 16 for Rillaboom recovery, but this is also going to let you live 1 Glacial Lance from a Calyrex too, right? So I think that's also important, you know, to be able to survive that and get off that Ivy Cudgel there, especially if they're like +1, right? And I think it is calc for +1, so yeah. Anyway, that after that, you know, just the Farigiraf here, you know, Bolt Nature for the Urshifu, right? So sometimes the Ursh can give you some problems, so physical bulk is going to be appreciated. Again, just like Raging Bolt here, I'm going for that 224 HP number. I'm going to hit about 156 here. I think it's already going to be solid. I just want like a little bit of speed. I don't want all that much. And then I can just dump the rest here into Spadef here. And that's really all I want out of my Farigiraf. Just be super bulky, stay on the field, deal the occasional chip damage with Foul Play and Psychic Noise there. And, you know, that's it. The Hariyama here. So I went with Brave here, okay? And then this way you get to find out some information with the Ice Rider, right? Because you're both base 50 here, but here's the secret. You know, you can outspeed them, right? Just depending on their investment. But I do like just going full bulk here, you know, just 252 investment. What happened to my thing? And then just going like 156 attack, right? And then after this, about 60 defense, and then just rounding out this last bit of bulk here. These last 4 EVs, they're not going to matter all that much, so I didn't really put it there. But this is going to be good at like getting the Ice Rider Glacial Lances to 3 or 4 hit KOs, right? So I think this is definitely worth it just to have this much bulk. And then this is all you really need in terms of like raw damage. Like 176 is okay for Hariyama. Again, it's more supportive than anything. You know, we're not really having it to deal like big damage. So we just need it to stay on the field and click the occasional wide guard and sometimes knock off / close combat, depending on things when we want to finish them off. So again, just in terms of our Terra here, so we can also just go the Steel Terra here. I think this is okay. And then you can even technically go Fire here if you want to resist like the Fairy weakness too. So you can definitely do that and then not get burned. So if you want to go like Fire, Terra Hariyama, I think that's also like worth it. So I'll even put that over here. But to each their own. It just depends on what kind of defensive resistance do you want. So yeah, but anyway, this is like the first variant of the squad that we're having here. So again, just to go over some of the tools. Again, the Raging Bolt here will help you against like Kyogre and Urshifu Rapid Strikes. The Flutter Mane here with Icy Wind and Taunt is good for disruption and speed control purposes. And then, you know, Ogerpon-Hearthflame just gives you a nice solid hard-hitting fire type attacker in the sun. Groudon giving you weather control, giving you Precipice Blades pressure against Raging Bolts, and also, you know, the Miraidon matchup. Farigiraf pretty good into Ice Rider as well, along with Hariyama, right? You know, just fake out Trick Room, and then bring in the Dawn that can also be like relatively slow in the Trick Room matchup. But you have a lot of tools here with this type of team. So, you know, let's show it in a couple games, and then we'll build a second variant. Okay, this one is a mirror matchup, you know, Groudon versus Groudon, but this is the Chinese Groudon Sun team here, with the Howl Gouging Fire, and then the Chien-Pao with Urshifu here for a lot of physical damage, a lot of breaker damage, and then, you know, support Volcarona with the Tailwind and the Raging Bolt there for, you know, another Protosynthesis mon. So for us, obviously I'm gonna like our own Groudon, but I also like Flutter Mane and Hearthflame Ogerpon here because, you know, count the fairy weaknesses. He's got the Chien-Pao, the Urshifu, and the Raging Bolt there. That's already 3 Flutter weaknesses already. And then I can taunt that Volcarona just in case, you know, shut down his support moves. Ogerpon-Hearthflame is going to do a lot of damage in the sun. Okay, and then you know, our own Groudon is also going to be useful just for ground type coverage. You know, the the Raging Bolt, if he does bring it, I don't think he does, but also the Gouging Fire, he's probably going to bring that. So I want to have a good solid ground move into that, and I just think Hariyama could do something to an extent here. Can fake out pressure, wide guard also for his own Groudon there. So I think I like that. So if we start things off, he's gonna go with the Urshifu and his Volcarona there. So I'm gonna go with Flutter Mane and the Ogerpon here. So I have pressure into a lot of this. Either I have Taunt or Moonblast into the Ursh, right? And I know the Chien-Pao has a Sash, and I know this Urshifu doesn't. So I also just want to straight pressure it. So he has to force, the Volcarona is forced to click Rage Powder here, right? So now he goes into Gouging Fire. That's okay, right? Because now I just want to taunt that Volcarona, okay? And even if the Urshifu did stay in and Wicked Blow, that's also fine. I'm going to go into Groudon now, okay? So I'm going to boost my Flutter Mane speed. I'm also going to boost this Gouging Fire, but I want to at least not take a Breaking Swipe into my Ogerpon, right? So I have the Clear Amulet. Now, the only risk was the Heat Wave here. You know, boosted damage, could have crit, and it does burn me. So that's a really unfortunate, you know, play from our end. But that's okay, because, again, we can still do damage, right? I still want to still pressure that Volcarona there. So straight Moonblast into that slot. He ends up switching the Urshifu. I have no idea why he did that, but he did. My Groudon's on the clock here, but there's his own Groudon, so I want to see the speed interaction, so I just want to click Icy Wind first, right? And now all I have to do is just hit our you know, Precipice Blades here, and we do, right? So yeah, we take out the Gouging Fire. This Groudon is now trapped at -1 speed here. He misses the Flutter Mane, fortunately for us. And that's the risk that you always run when you play a Groudon. So now he goes into Volcarona here. I'm going to go into Hearthflame Ogerpon. I have my Terra. This is easy, right? Now I can just bonk the Groudon on the head here, right? Even if your Protect's not a huge deal. I just want to taunt that Volcarona so he can't click his support moves, and then just take out the Groudon altogether, right? So now, you know, there's a straight Moonblast here. And then, you know, just again, Ivy Cudgel just bonks that Volcarona on the head there. So again, what I thought would be the key Pokemon to, you know, in this game ends up cleaning up the game for me. But you got to see the power of Taunt with Flutter Mane here. And then at the same time, even though our Groudon did get burned, it did enough where we were still able to pressure a lot of his slots there. And especially that Gouging Fire there. Okay, this is one of those Calyrex-Ice Rider teams here, but it's very different. This is a Torkoal variant. And you already know what he wants to do. Like, there's After Your Eruption plays here. There's Expanding Force here with Follow Me, Redirection Support. So he has a lot going for him. Very linear team, though. But we do have the Hariyama that can help us, you know, with a lot of what he has. The only thing I'm really concerned about, obviously, is the Sleep Powder from that Lilligant. Okay, and because of that, I led with the Heartflame along with the Farigiraf. If I had to, I'd probably just do Farigiraf, you know, Hariyama here. But, you know, I was a little bit afraid here. So I actually lead incorrectly here, but that's because he led the Torkoal stuff. So I really don't have much of a choice here. I just have to Terra the Farigiraf here and just protect the Ogerpon here. And he's going for the After Eruption. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have just clicked Psychic Noise into the Torkoal there just so that it gets reduced damage. But I wanted to at least try and break a Sash here. But yeah, so I do expect this Ogerpon just to, you know, go down splat, which is, I guess, okay. All right. Because now we can go into the Groudon and the Hariyama here. So we lose 2 Pokemon instantly in 2 turns, but look what happens here. Because now we can just fake out the Torkoal. And now he went for the After You play. So he didn't go for Sleep Powder, which is very thankful for us. So now we just kick P-Blades, and now we're just chilling here, right? So now we know he has the Calyrex, but there's the Gallade, but we outspeed, right? So just straight Heat Crash, that goes down. And now the Hariyama, we can just click Knockoff and we removed the Torkoal. It was Specs, that's why also. So now he just has the Calyrex, right? So look how quickly this turns around here. So we always have wide guard pressure here, right? And, you know, that's important, right? Heat Crash can do something there. I could have also took the turn to bulk up, right? And look at this, Glacial Lance not being able to do anything, right? Next turn, now I can also just go for bulk up, right? Again, even if he clicks Trick Room here, it's not going to matter because I'm compensating for the defense boost here, right? So wide guard again, you know, what can he really do? Like just high horsepower, that's not going to do much. And again, just straight P blades is able to take out the Calyrex here. I could have even played it even safer and just kept clicking Heat Crash there, but in the end, you know, I was fine with clicking the P blades. Even if I missed, it's no big deal. I just click it again next turn. But yeah, so you got to see Hariyama late game here, you know, with the wide guard support. It was a little bit tricky early on, just because of the Lilligant there, you know, just clicking after Eruption Place. If I led the Hariyama, would have made it a little bit easier, but I was again a little bit of afraid of the Gallade, you know, clicking psychic moves there. But in the end, I felt like I was still fine, you know, with Groudon and Hariyama closing things out. Okay, so this is one of those Shadow Rider teams with Clefairy and Mienshao, and he's doing the hyper offense stuff with Tornadus and Chi-Yu. So this is also an idea where Hariyama can do something here, because again, we have knockoff pressure into, you know, the Clefairy and the Calyrex. You know, we can one-shot it. We just have to remove the Clefairy off the field, right? And then we have Wide Guard, you know, just for the Astral Barrage stuff, and as well as like Heat Wave from the Chi-Yu if it comes down to it. So yeah, and then we still have Trick Room, you know, with Farigiraf, which is going to help us also. So this time around, I'm going to lead Farigiraf and the Hariyama rather than the Heartflame. I'm going to keep the Groudon in the back. Okay, so I just want to see how he leaves it. So he's going to lead the Calyrex and he's going to lead a Clefairy here. So this is fine. I just have to remove the Eviolite here and just, you know, set up the Trick Room. Whichever one he wants to give me. He's actually just going to set up Nasty Plot here. So I was fine even if he clicked the Psychic move into Hariyama, because then that means I get the Trick Room up, right? But he gives me both anyway. So now I can go into Groudon here, and then I just want to make sure I'm safe and just click Wide Guard here. Even if he went for the Psychic move now, it's fine. Now, it is just an after you Clefairy clicking that. So that's his Trick Room answer, but look at this. So now he goes into Tornadus, thinking, you know, Precipice Blades, but, you know, that's not really the goal here. I just want to remove the Clefairy first. So I'm just going to click Heat Crash, down goes Tornadus, okay? And now I can still click Knock Off, but he went into Mind Shell, right? So this is good. So he fakes out the wrong slot, so that means free Calyrex. I thought he would go into Clefairy in all honesty, but he didn't. And now that's it. And the one shot from the knockoff was huge there. We always have that pressure, right? So if they don't know that we have it, or if they don't do a Force Terra, then that's just an instant removal there. And we still had the Trick Room terms up, so Groudon was looking pretty good there. Also, he could have clicked Wide Guard, but again, I'm not going to, you know, with the Mienshao. And even though I know that thing is sashed, I'm still always going to click Heat Crash no matter what there. So good job from Hariyama once again. Okay, so for this next build here, I want to also just pair the Groudon with Tornadus here. So we're going to have Manual Sunny Day along with Tailwind. So this is going to be more of a hyper offensive idea. So I got this idea. The 6 that I'm going to show you is from Triple VGC here. You actually want a tournament with the 6, and I kind of like the way it functions. So we're going to recreate the squad here. Now, we don't have the paste, obviously, but we can just recreate our own sets and our own spreads here. But I will use the same 6. So basically with Groudon and Tornadus here, what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the setup play with, you know, bulk up here, because we're just going to go another coverage move here with high horsepower, you know, just in case the P-Blades, we're a little bit unsure, and this way we can secure a little bit more with high horsepower. So I will still use these two, and we're still going to use Flutter Mane, but we're also going to use Chi-Yu here. So a little bit more power, you know, from the special attacking end here. It's going to be the same Flutter Mane set here, so I'm still going to use, you know, Moonblast, Taunt, and Icy Wind here. So I'm just going to import that set real quick. Now the Chi-Yu will be a Scarf set, so this way we're not entirely reliant on the Tornadus for Tailwind. But again, Heat Wave, Dark Pulse, Overheat, and Snarl. Chi-Yu looking really good, you know, with Groudon pairings here. Of course, we're going to go Terra Ghost here. And then just another straight 253 set with the Modest Nature on the Chi-Yu here, right? So we got 2 Pokemon here with 252 ideas. Now, from here, I still like the Venusaur, right? I think just the threat of having the Sleep Powder is very devastating, okay? Now, we don't have to sash the Venusaur because we put the sash here, but if you want to sash it and then just put a booster energy over here, you can definitely do that. The Venusaur can actually just exert pressure with Life Orb technically, so I do like that. Okay, and again, like I said, if you want it to be a little bit more supportive, you could put like Covert Cloak or Sash here, and then just put the Flutter Mane as booster energy. But you know, when I was testing this, I was actually just using the Life Orb just for a little bit of damage, and then just Weather Ball. You know, again, looking really good in the sun, strong damage there, and then Leaf Storm, of course. Your one big grass nuke, and then just straight protect over here, and then Terra Fire also. Okay, now this last slot here, this is where I liked the Umbreon idea. And again, you know, just with Inner Focus, you have the Yawn, you have the Foul Play here, you have Moonlight, you know, for healing, and then you still get Helping Hand here from the Umbreon. And now you can also just use Safety Goggles here. If you want to put the Berry, you can definitely put the Berry. I like Terra Poison here for the Fairy resistance as well as the Fighting resistance. But again, just Yawn, you know, in that Trick Room idea, you know, just forces them out. And same thing with Foul Play, you pressure both Calyrex this way, and then Moonlight healing later on is going to be very, very useful. So this is the one way that I saw that this was being used, and I kind of liked it. Again, the Umbreon is going to give you that Trick Room matchup, so, you know, we are just going to go straight relaxed here. You know, just 0 speed, but 252, 156 investment. This is enough bulk to survive the Adamant close combat from an Urshifu, and then just dumping the rest into special defense there, right? Just a very standard Umbreon set here. The Venusaur, so I still went max speed here, you know, max timid, okay? Because again, this is still going to outspeed the modest Kyogres, you know, even without the speed idea, right? So if they're modest, then they're not going to outspeed us. They're going to cap at 143 there. And then I just went for Life Orb optimization, just doing this, okay, because again, this is a damage dealing Venusaur, so we still went with, you know, almost max special attack there. Okay, and then the Tornadus, I just wanted to keep this bulky. I still went Covert Cloak here just for the fake out stuff. And then, you know, you're still going to go with Tailwind, Sunny Day. And I went with Taunt over here, right? So, you know, we have two Taunt users. We have, you know, manual Taunt here, and then just Taunt over here, you know, Prankster Taunt. And then I just went with Air Slash. Again, you know, Bleak Wind Storm, you know, doesn't really make too much sense in the sun. Ideally, you know, I just want like the single target Air Slash. I think it's okay. So I went with that, and then I still went with Terra Dark here, you know, just to not get taunted, ideally, right? So in terms of bulk, I still went with Timid, 92 here. So this way I get to outspeed Kyogres, right? The max speed Ogres, and then just with enough physical bulk here, 212, 188, just to survive the Urshifu Surging Strikes, you know, without the sun being considered. So yeah, that's really all I wanted out of my Tornadus here. The Groudon, so because I don't have any boosting damage, right, you know, coming from bulk up, I still went a little bit more attack investment. So I went to about 236, which was the next and third and final bump there in the attack stat. And again, if you don't know what EV bumps are and you're trying to play competitive Pokemon, make sure you comment below asking what are EV bumps. I will reply and respond to you. I also have a whole video on this, which I've also linked in the video description. So if you don't know what bumps are, give that a watch. Otherwise, ask below what are EV bumps, and I will answer you here, because you got a couple bumps here. You had the one at 156 over here, and then this is the next one at 236. It's every 80 EV bumps that you will see the next benchmark there, right? So I went there, and then just a little bit of speed, you know, just about 20, you know, so this way under Tailwind, I outspeed the Shadow Rider. You only need 112, but I went one more, you know, just for, you know, speed creeping purposes, and literally just 1 point of bulk here and here, and then just max the HP almost, right? So that's all I really wanted out of the Groudon here. So something, you know, pretty standard, you know, just in terms of our EVs. But again, it lets us hop into the ladder and get something going immediately, right? So yeah, so let's show you how this functions, you know, especially with the manual sun coming from the Tornadus. All right, so another Shadow Rider team with Clefairy here, but this time he has the Power Spot from the Stone Journer, and then he has Volcarona here. So very interesting couple of support options here, but again, it also makes sense. I still think Groudon looks pretty good here. Same thing with Chiyu, of course. And you can argue the Umbreon here, but I'd rather save the Umbreon for like the Ice Rider stuff. But, you know, Tornadus just helping everything outspeed here is going to be key. So Tornadus, Chiyu, Groudon for sure. And then I could also just bring in Venusaur for late game sleep powder shenanigans if I have to. Okay, so we're gonna start this off. So let's see how he leads this, but I'm just gonna go straight Tornadus and Chi-Yu here just to see what he's got, especially if he leads Rillaboom and Urshifu. I can click Air Slash into those things, but he just goes Calyrex Volcarona. So this looks like Snarl in all honesty, right? So he goes Terra Water. He already Terras that, so that means there's no Terra on the Calyrex. So that means this Chi-Yu can click Snarl to its heart's desire, right? And now we weaken the Volcarona if in case he does decide to do this. He goes with his own Tailwind, but now we just stop him, right? Snarl just takes him out. So he committed the Terra and he just subjects himself to Snarl. So that was very poor from our opponent here. And now this is pretty much over because again, we have late game stuff with Groudon and Venusaur. Look at that Air Slash, big damage into the Urshifu. We get the flinch there. Heat Wave after the reduction is not going to do all that much here. I'm going to go into Groudon here now, okay? And now, you know, Venusaur can just clean up the Urshifu here. We ignore the Rage Powder because, again, we are a grass type, so that doesn't really matter from that end. And, you know, and now he just has Stony J at the end, which is fine. You know, Protect, but that's okay. You know, just blast the Volcarona out of here with the Leaf Storm. And now the Stonejourner has the Sash. We know it has it, and there's not really much you can do here. You know, we've kept all of our options. We just sleep for the memes, okay? And then just click High Horsepower over there just to get some damage there. But all in all, this is another quick one. So you got to see the power of Chi-Yu here against the Calyrex. But in all honesty, he probably should have just saved the Terra for the Calyrex. At least give himself a chance. All right, this time it's Pagos with Clefairy. So far we've seen a lot of Clefairy stuff, but this is something where, again, Chi-Yu looks really good here because we have the Snarl pressure, you know, for the Pagos just to keep its damage mitigated. We just have to be careful with how we use the Groudon here because, again, one Terra and then our Sun goes bye-bye. I still think Venusaur has good use here, especially with Weather Ball and Sleep Powder. And then, you know, our Tornadus can also do something if we decide to go in that direction here. I also considered the Flutter Mane here to an extent. You know, could have gone that direction as well. But here's the Pagos Instant. I'm going to go Groudon and I'm going to go Tornadus here, just to see what he does here, just to match his Tornadus. But he didn't even go his Tornadus. So, Pagos Instant. So I'm thinking Fake Out Calm Mind here. So he does do that. But again, this is where I went with the Taunt. All right, but now he surprises me and he goes with Meteor Beam. So he's one of those, and he just takes out my Tornadus. So that's a good play from him. He takes out my Torn. I don't get Tailwind. I don't do anything. We just taunt him, right? So he goes into Clefairy here. It's a good play. He goes Terra Stellar. He pops our Sun, obviously, but the idea here is that we land our Sleep Powder, so we're able to mitigate that. And we do miss the P-Blades, unfortunately, but at least we hit the Clefairy. So not great that we missed, but still fine. I'm going to go into Chi-Yu here because now this is the time where I can get him in and just start clicking Snarl just to remove that buff there. And I miss High Horsepower too. So, you know, Groudon not doing great so far with his accuracy there. Can't believe I missed a 95% move there, but another Snarl. So now that the Pagos loses his boost there, so that's good, right? P-Blades takes out the Clefairy, and, you know, which is great because now he just clicks Sleep Halt and he just clicks Protect, right? So Sinistcha comes in. He gets to heal the Pagos, right? But this is fine, okay? We go back into Venu here. I'm going to reset my Sun. He goes into Instant as well. Very interesting, right? But again, Snarl, now the Pagos is -1. If I can remove one of these slots, I can trap him. Goes for another Sleep Taunt, but he wakes up there. So I'm going to go back into Groudon here. Okay. And he does click Fake Out. So, you know, he can only Fake Out one of those, but yeah, there it is. Goes for Terra Starstorm. Again, not doing a whole lot because he's -1. And now he goes into Sinistcha for a little bit more healing, which is fine. He protects. Good play from him. He's playing really well here. He's trying to stall out everything that we've got here. High Horsepower, not going to do a lot, you know, because it's a Sinistcha. But I do have Weather Ball if I want to. He goes into Instant now. Okay. But I choose to Sleep Out of the Pagos there, right? But again, Heat Crash still picks up, which is what I needed, right? So now he can't get his healing anymore. The Pagos is trapped here, you know, later on for the Sinistcha to keep clicking Snarls. Another Fake Out comes out here. He can only Fake Out one slot. So we remove the Instant, which is good, right? And then he does click Terra Starstorm. But at this point, the Chi-Yu wins because I was able to remove the Instant. So yeah. And now all I have to do is just keep the Venusaur alive for at least one more turn. I know he just wants to click Protect here, okay? You know, for the last turn of Sun. But in reality, because the Chi-Yu outspeeds, he's not going to do any more damage. So now we just Snarl him, which is good damage. And the Pagos, I don't know why he's clicking Sleep Talk, maybe thinking I might Sleep Powder there. But really all I want to do is just get off a couple Snarls. Leaf Storm just cleans them up. And yeah, so the Pagos never had enough positioning to deal damage because we kept threatening Sleep Powders and we kept threatening Snarls. And because of that, you know, he wasn't getting as much damage as he could. He did make some good switches, you know, with the Sinistcha and whatnot. But in the end, we were dealing more damage than him. Okay, and that's what made the difference. Okay, so for this third variant, we're still going to go like some hyper offense stuff, but what I want to do now is take advantage of the Chien-Pao Entei idea. So we're going to go with those guys. And then for our Trick Room matchup, we will actually just go with the Amoonguss here, you know, for another solid grass type. And then this last slot here, this is where we wanted to try the Walking Wake here. So now we still got this Fire Water Grass going for us here. And this is a build done by Skyray VGC, right? So he had a pretty good result with this 6, and I liked the way it functioned just because of some of the tools that it has, as well as some of the support that you're getting with the Amoonguss and the Tornadus. So I figured, you know what, let's actually just use it here. But there are going to be some differences, obviously, with some of the moves here that we're going to use. But in the end, the 6 is the 6 here. So what I want to do here with Groudon is actually go with the Assault Vest variant now. So we'll go AV Groudon here. So with P-Blades, High Horsepower, Heat Crash, and this is where we'll cash in on the Thunder Punch, right? So this way we can hit some flying types and some water types that we can't really hit all that well with our ground coverage. So we'll do that. And the investment that I'm going to decide to do here is actually just go 220 HP and about 60 SPDF. And this is enough to survive the Miraidon Draco Meteor, right? In their terrain, you know, modest 252 choice spec. So I figured that was worth calculating for. So that's the investment that I'm going to choose. And then I still want about 20 investment here, you know, just to, you know, survive or just to outspeed the Shadow Rider under Tailwind. And then after this, just go about 204 in terms of the attack stat. And, you know, just Adamant Nature is still okay. So I get the calc that I need. Defensively, I get the speed tier, and then the rest I can just reinvest into my attacking slot there. The Tornadus, so I'm going to keep the same set here, but the one thing that I wanted to do here, which is kind of funny and I saw, was actually just use Leer on the Tornadus. So now you're going to have a lot of damage coming out from Chien-Pao and Entei, especially if you can just get off a very important Leer, and then things are just going to start getting one-shot now, right? So I like that idea. This will go Focus Sash on the Chien-Pao here, and I did like Ice Spinner just to remove terrain. I like Sucker Punch. Okay, and I also like Protect here. Now, what you could also do on the Chien-Pao is you can go Haze here if you don't do Clear Smog on this Amoonguss. So if you want to do that, then if you put Clear Smog on the Amoonguss, then take this away and go Sacred Sword, obviously, right? And then from here, if you do go Clear Smog, then you have to go Rage Powder and then Spore, and then just go with Protect here. Oh, that's not Rage, that's not Protect. Okay, otherwise, if you go Sludge Bomb on the Amoonguss, which you can definitely do, right? If you go Sludge Bomb on this Amoonguss, then I feel like Haze has to come out here from the Chien-Pao here. So this way you can wipe away those Dondozo buffs. But to each their own. So if you don't go Haze, then you got to go Clear Smog over here. But if you go Sludge Bomb, then you got to go Haze on the Chien-Pao. You know, that's just my humble opinion, okay? Then after this, you know, this Chien-Pao, I just like going Jolly Chien-Pao here, you know, just for the potential mirrors against the other base 135s. You can always win that matchup ideally. So I'll stay Jolly on our Chien-Pao. We'll still go Ghost, obviously, to whiff the fighting move. Entei here, again, you know, with the band. Again, you know, just Terra Normal here just to whiff the Calyrex Astral Barrage. You're going to have Sacred Fire, and you're going to have Extreme Speed, okay? And then you can have Crunch here for your Dark coverage, right? If you don't, you know, sometimes your Chien-Pao is just not on the field there. If you want to go Crunch, you can definitely one-shot those Shadow Riders that way. You can also get off that key defense drop that can, you know, your Groudon can capitalize off of. So that's also pretty cool. And then this last slot here, you know, you could just do Stomping Tantrum as well. You know, just another ground coverage that you could have, you know, with the Entei. You can have something else here, you know, something like Trailblaze if you really want to, but to each their own. I was just testing these 4 moves at the time being. All right, the Amoonguss, you know, with Regenerator, of course, and then the Rocky Helmet, you know, to be able to break sashes and let Urshifu deal big damage to themselves is always going to be much appreciated. And of course, this Walking Way is just a straight nuker, you know, with Terra Fire, of course, to be able to resist the Fairy weakness. But Hydro Steam, Gonna do a lot. That's Hyper Beam. Oops. Hydro, Steam. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Then you have Flamethrower. So you have some coverage moves here. Draco Meteor, then Protect. So you got your big nuke here. I'm just gonna go Timid 252 and round out everything else here. Now you can go a little bit of Life Orb optimization with this. So if that's the way you want to do it, yeah, there you go. Otherwise, you can just do something like this, right? And then just max the special attack like that, right? So that's also to each their own. But if you want the optimization, here you go. You know, just get this to about 179, and that's it. Okay. The Amoonguss. So right now, I still like going relaxed nature. You know, just to be able to have some physical bulk. I still go 236, 236 to resist the Glacial Lance or the Ice Attack from a Chien-Pao. If you put a little bit more Spadef, you can survive Psychic, you know, from a Calyrex. A little bit better, but I just want with the physical bulk there. The Entei, you can just go Adamant Nature here, max speed here, and then something like this, 196 investments. But in reality, I just went like with max. Like I saw no reason after a while to like just take away some of its damage. Just max it and, you know, try it out for yourself. But I still liked the way it was functioning, right? So again, another very straightforward hyper offensive team here. But again, the Groudon bulk is what we're looking at over here. But you can also definitely just use this and, you know, combo the Groudon with Chien-Pao / Entei and let these guys be the big sweepers. And then, you know, have some support in the end with Amoonguss Tornadus, and then some special attack damage, you know, here from the Walking Wake here. So pretty good in Kyogre games if you want to bring it. But in the end, I do like the way this Groudon team also functions. So this one's, again, another Calyrex team with Clefairy. Again, lots of hype now with the Clefairy stuff. But you see where something like Walking Wake looks pretty cool here. You have fire coverage, you know, for Rillaboom. You have water coverage for the Incineroar, right? And then at the same time, you know, with Tornadus, you can pressure with Air Slash to the Urshifus and the Rillaboom. And, you know, you're going to be faster than the Raging Bolt too, right? So you also have Draco Meteor damage there. The only thing that's going to be annoying is the Clefairy. So if you can get rid of that thing, then you're in a good spot. So that's the only thing that I would be concerned with. So I'm still going to lead like Tornadus Walking Wake here. So just in case. But he's pretty much just forced to lead the Calyrex and the Clefairy like this, right? So, which is fine. All I have to do is just get up my speed control here. He's going Helping Hand, so he's going all in here. So Tailwind, all right, and a little bit of chip damage with Hydro Steam. Again, even if he does pick up this KO, it's not a big deal, right, into the Walking Way, because I know my Tornadus lives, and I see that he wasn't even Life Orb there. So now Groudon comes in. This is where the Leer tech comes in handy, right? So he's going to get greedy. He doesn't realize he's going to get outsped. So here comes Leer. Here comes the P-Blades. And your Frangard just does not matter. Your Calyrex just goes down, right? So there we go. Now he brought Raging Bolt here. I'm surprised he brought Raging Bolt into a Groudon matchup here. But again, I guess he wants a special attack boost. Still fine here. We have the Tailwind support. This is why Tornadus is really good. He went for Thunderclap there. Doesn't really matter. Again, just P-Blades coming out here. Looking really strong, and that's pretty much it. He just forfeits there. He has no more damage coming out here. We always have Chien-Pao creating pressure against that Raging Bolt there. So again, even though we lost the Walking Wake, the fact that we had the Walking Wake pretty much just forced him to lead Clefairy and Calyrex. There was no other way he could have done this because Walking Wake looked really good into everything that he had there. All right, so this is a pretty weird Ice Rider team here. He's got a lot of cool options, you know, with Instant and Iron Hands here, double Fake Out with Farigiraf. He's got the Boo Boo keys. I would imagine that screens could even be like Thunder Wave. Then he's got an Alolan Muck there, so I'm not quite sure what that thing is supposed to do. I could understand if he had a Smeargle here, but he doesn't. So, yeah, so a lot of Fake Out. But again, Entei looks pretty good against that because, again, you can't Fake Out an Entei. Of course, our Groudon's going to come. I see an Iron Hands there. I see an Instant there. I see no reason why not to bring it. Of course, I may have to like preserve the Terra, but even Chien-Pao to an extent also looks pretty good here, just because. Okay, so I'm gonna go Entei. I'm gonna go Chien-Pao here. All right, and he's gonna go with the Farigiraf, and he's gonna go with the Calyrex-Ice Rider. So I figured he might just do something cheeky and then Terra, or just protect it and make Trick Room on the Farigiraf. So, you know, my play is to just do something like this. He does go Terra Fairy Farigiraf there, but I'm just going to click Ice Spinner and then just click Sacred Fire there and just wipe it off. So there goes that idea for trying to click Trick Room there. Here's a Muck. Again, I don't want to get faked out on the Chien-Pao. He actually fakes out the Entei, so that tells me he doesn't understand what Inner Focus is. And then there goes the Muck. So thanks for coming, Muck. But already we've removed a couple options. He still has the option to Terra the Calyrex. Okay, I'm going to go into Amoonguss just in case. He does Terra and click Trick Room, but he actually just clicks Protect. So that's fine, I guess. This is a raw Flare Blitz, so he actually does have Flare Blitz. I could have lost the Amoonguss there, but I don't, and he takes a lot of damage, you know, with Rocky Helmet and the recoil. So I missed the Sacred Fire this time, and still no Terra comes out. The Calyrex instead just goes for a simple Glacial Lance, probably trying to pick up the Amoonguss there. But I'm just going to go Terra Water here. All right, he protects the Calyrex this time. So again, I'm just doing this just to survive Flare Blitz and a potential Glacial Lance here, but he does click Protect, so there was no Glacial Lance. All right, so now I'm just going to go into Chien-Pao here and preserve the Amoonguss later. Still no Terra, which means I land the Sacred Fire, and now we pick up. So all that time just protecting and whatnot, and he just lets it die to Sacred Fire, you know, a couple turns later. So I didn't quite understand what he was trying to do there, but this ends up being a really easy game for something like Entei and Amoonguss, you know, just doing what they need to do. All right, this is a pretty weird Zacian team here, but I just think Walking Way looks really good against all of that. Like, you've got the fire pressure for the Chien-Pao and the Zacian, and then you also have Hydro Steam pressure, you know, for the Arcanine, and you still have Flamethrower that can deal pretty good damage into that Ogerpon. He's basically forced to Terra if he doesn't want to get like take a huge amount of damage into that. Now he's got a Tailwind and a Trick Room mode. Technically, we don't know what that Gothitelle has technically. But as long as we stagger our own Tailwind in the endgame, I think we can do a lot for what we have here. So I'm just going to run it. I'm going to go with Groudon and Walking Way just to give me that speed boost early on. And he goes with Ogerpon and the Tornadus here. So he can do Rain Dance and then just Ivy Cudgel. You know, that's a play that, you know, or just straight Tailwind there. Because if he does go with the Rain Dance, then that means no Tailwind, right? So a lot of Wood Hammer damage coming out there. So Flamethrower picks up. Groudon lives that. So good bulk there from our Groudon there. And then just Heat Crashes, you know, destroys that Tornadus. So really, really good there. He gets the Tailwind, but again, we pick up 2 Mons there. So I have a late game Tornadus. So all I have to do is just remove this Arcanine. The Groudon is dead already. I don't really care about what the Groudon can do anymore. All I need to do is just pressure this Arcanine here with the Hydro Steam. And if he commits the Terra on either or, it doesn't matter, right? So Hydro Steam comes up, picks up the Arcanine, and now we get to go into our own Tornadus here, and our Tailwind with our speed boost means we get to outspeed the Zacian here, right? So there's the Tailwind, and here is the Flamethrower, Terra Fire into Sun, Life Orb, and all. There is no Zacian in the world that can deal that. So, you know, Walking Wake was pretty good here in reality. So there's that. All right, we'll do like one more build here. This one's like a little bit out there, but I think it could do something when you position it properly. I did see some ideas, you know, with Iron Valiant, okay? Because again, the coaching boost, you know, booster energy here. You could do Wide Guard and you could do coaching, right? So now the Groudon's actually going to be like relatively bulky, all things considered. And then you could do stuff like Spirit Break, and then you can do Encore, right? Just lock them in. I would probably just go Ghost Terra here just to like avoid fake out stuff. But yeah. Anyway, after this, then you can go the other Ogerpon. You could go Cornerstone here, and then you can also just go Urshifu, the single strike one. So this is going to have a focus sash. So we inherently have 2 sash mods because this is sturdy and then this is the focus sash one. So now we have some good matchups into both riders, right? The Calyrex Shadow and the Calyrex-Ice Rider. Then we could do Farigiraf over here. Again, just deny priority, and then another thing that can set up Trick Room for us. And then just having that Raging Bolt over here. So again, another good coverage mod, another thing that can benefit from Protosynthesis. This will have the Life Orb idea. I still like Terra Fairy on this thing, all things considered. But I think we can just go with something like this. So basically the plan here is that we have options for a lot of different things. The Assault Vest Groudon looks pretty good into a lot of the special attackers running around. The Wide Guard is going to be useful against, you know, some of the spread moves guys, like again, Kyogre and the Calyrexes. And then at the same time, you still have Ogerpon and Urshifu, you know, 2 things with sturdy that, you know, forces the opponent to like double tap if they want to KO, which means one slot could basically keep their sash, ideally if they want, and then just get off like free damage. And Farigiraf again, like you know, decent Trick Room damage. But what I want to do with this Farigiraf is actually just go Foul Play, Imprison, and the Trick Room stuff, right? And then the other one will be Helping Hand here. So we could even just shut down the Ice Rider completely from being able to click Trick Room. And of course, we'll still go with the Safety Goggles stuff. So I want to just try this out. All right, this is just going to be standard, you know, with Ivy Cudgel. I like Hornleech, right? You know, I've had enough missing with Groudon, you know, so I'm just like, yeah, no, I don't need Power Whip missing. Let me just go Hornleech here. Follow Me, and Spiky Shield, right? The Ursh, we can go Stellar here. Okay, you know, just Wicked Blow, Close Combat, Sucker Punch, and then Protect. So now this also gives me, you know, some matchups into Pagos at the same time. Farigiraf, you know, we have it over here. Then the Life Orb Raging Bolt with Protect. It's going to be pretty cool here. Again, just Thunderbolt, Thunderclap, Draco Meteor, and again, just the Protect idea. So, yeah, Iron Valiant here. So, you know, I'm just going to go Jolly here, technically. Maybe just about, I think 220 is okay, just to outspeed Ogerpons, right? So I'll go something like this. And then we just need like 1 point in the attack. So I don't really need this thing to do like all that much damage. We'll go about 212 HP. Again, a Rillaboom optimal number there. And then just dumping the rest into special defense is all I really need with this Iron Valiant there. The Ogerpon, obviously, we'll just go a 252 set here with Jolly Nature. I think is all right. And then Ursh, same thing. I'll go Adamant also, right? You know, just for big damage with Wicked Blow. Farigiraf, essentially the same set that I was using. You know, that same Bolt set, okay? You know, just going with that 224 HP mark, factor of 16, and then just about this much. You know, let's go 122. Nice even number for the coaching boost if we have to do it. Maybe just 1 or 2 points here and speed, and then the rest just get dumped into Spadef. Raging Bolt here. So I'm still going to go modest. Like modest Raging Bolt here, you know, 180. And then about 148, you know, again, just to have Life Orb optimization, maybe just about 1 point of speed there, and then dumping the rest here into defense. Now, here's the idea with Raging Bolt and Groudon. So, like, if you force the Terra out of Miraidon, what you could do is click Thunderclap, and, you know, a Terra Fairy Miraidon is going to almost get one shot. Like, Sun, Life Orb, Terrain, right, with Thunderclap, that's a lot of multipliers. Like, you know, Miraidon's taking anywhere from, like, 70+% to almost 90% damage with Thunderclap. And then you could just click whatever you want with Groudon here. You could click like High Horsepower into the Terra Fairy, or even like Heat Crash, whatever, and it just dies. So that's the plan against like Miraidon stuff if you do force out the Terra. Otherwise, you know, Farigiraf clicking Imprison shuts down the Ice Rider, more or less. Urshifu also looks pretty good there, just clicking Wicked Blow. And then, you know, just having Wide Guard pressure against Kyogres and whatnot is also going to be really good. And then just, again, another redirector with the Ogerpon here with Ivy Cudgel along with Urshifu is actually like pretty good offense here. So yeah, I'm going to show this as a pace here. So this is actually pretty cool here. Like this fourth team here, like I was testing it out and I was having a lot of fun with the Iron Valiant stuff. So yeah, you could definitely do something like this. So let's do some test games with this, and then we'll get you guys out of here. All right, so here's another one of those Ice Rider teams. This one's with Pelipper though. So even though he's got the Landorus, I think our Raging Bolt looks really good here. Because we have enough for the Landorus later on, you know, believe it or not. So all we have to do is just make sure we're positioned properly, but I will bring the Raging Bolt into this, okay? So it just depends on if he wants to bring the Pelipper or not, which I would imagine he does just because I have a Groudon. So I'm going to go Valiant Urshifu just to pressure the Ice Rider here. He's going to go Landorus Ursh in the get-go, right? So that's okay, okay? He's going to go into Pelipper now, which is fine. I'm just going to punch this Lando, right? Spirit Break could break a potential Sash there if it had it. And now we just, he does go for Sludge Bomb. That's okay. I don't mind that. And now we just click Wicked Blow, and, you know, the Landorus takes a lot. But now look at this, right? We go into Bolt here. The Pelipper is pressured. He goes into Urshifu there. Doesn't matter because I always click Sucker Punch to remove the Lando. And then Thunderbolt because I had spent the Pelipper anyway. And now the Urshifu just drops. And now all he has left is just the Pelipper. And he has the Calyrex. And that's pretty much it, right? I'm going to have Groudon later on. And the Raging Bolt just pressures too much, and he has no choice but to forfeit. Like, yeah, I just have so much pressure here. He can't protect anyway. You know, I have an Urshifu, so even if he does like Terra out of the Wicked Blow, it doesn't matter because then that means the Pelipper doesn't Terra, and then we kill that anyway. So yeah, so in a way, we created that pin with the Raging Bolt, and we were good from the get-go. Okay, this one's another weird Zacian team that just wants to slap on Dondozo, Tatsugiri, and Prey, right? You know, stuff like Urshifu and Ogerpon is going to be really good here, just because, again, you don't really care about the Dozo buffs here because you have an Urshifu that can just drop it down to half, right? And you have the Ogerpon as well that can just get passive recovery with Horn Leech. So, you know, the Sturdy is really going to help out here. So if I just run this, he's going to go with Chien-Pao here along with Dozo. So he has the option to go into the Giri right now if he wants to. Otherwise, if he stays in, then that's fine, right? So he goes with Ice Spinner. He gets the Ogerpon down to its 30, right? But then we just click Horn Leech, and then we just click Wicked Blow into the Dondozo, and that's the end of that, right? So yeah, there it is. Okay, so now he goes into Tatsugiri. So he did bring the Tatsugiri, so now we just go Stellar here, just in case he wants to do something crazy with the Tatsugiri. Goes for Draco, doesn't matter. He went for Ice Spinner here. So whether or not that hit the Urshifu, that was irrelevant. We have the Sash there. So yeah, now he's just left with Zacian here. And again, the Sash is broken. So if he wants to commit the Terra Ghost now, he can. Otherwise, the Zacian can't Terra. So he takes out the Ogerpon, but now we just click Close Combat and the Chien-Pao goes down. And, you know, Groudon can just finish things off against the Zacian. The Zacian can't break through. We can switch this out if we want, which we do. So we'll show him the Farigiraf here just because. There's the Sacred Sword, but again, high horsepower, just again, very trustworthy ground move there, and the Zacian just immediately drops there. So again, that's how you break through Dozo stuff. You just use the Ogerpon Urshifu combination, and you know, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. Okay, so now we're gonna just link all 4 teams below. So basically, this first variant, this is the one with Hariyama with Thick Fat and the Rocky Helmet. So you have the Protosynthesis partner with Raging Bolt and Flutter Mane. You have the Farigiraf for a little bit more speed control with Trick Room, which is something that Hariyama can definitely thrive in. The Ogerpon-Hearthflame is, again, another good, solid physical attacker that, you know, can do a lot of damage in the sun because of the Ivy Cudgel. Now, again, this Horn Leech, you have the option to either put this or Wood Hammer. It's totally up to you. I think in the building video, I think I did Wood Hammer, right? So feel free to do that. This is just something that I was testing on the side here. So we'll make that adjustment and just replace this with Wood Hammer in the video description. But this is pretty much it. Again, just being faster than like Timid Pelipper is an option here, which is why I gave this Groudon a little bit more speed. But other than that, you're hitting the benchmark there with Adamant 156. And then this Raging Bolt AV is relatively bulky, right? You're just hitting the target special attack investment for the Protosynthesis boost, and then you have enough bulk here to take that ice attack from a Chien-Pao or a Calyrex, and then this a little bit more Spadef here to take the earth power from a Landorus here. Taunt Flutter Mane, really good if you can use it properly, and then same thing here with Farigiraf. Foul Play along with Psychic Noise can really do damage onto like the Amogus stuff, right? So Hariyama's going to come to a lot of games where, you know, you need to stop spread damage. So if you got your wide guard idea, yeah, then here it is. So definitely make use of it. Otherwise, I also think that the Garganacl can also fill that role here as well. Just something else that can do well in Trick Room, that can also have wide guard here. So, you know, to each their own. But again, this does at least put a little bit of pressure on Pogos because you have fighting coverage here. So definitely consider that if you are willing to explore the Hariyama idea. Otherwise, we have some other options here. This is more of a hyper offensive variant, you know, with the Chien-Pao Entei idea with Tornadus, Sunny Day. Leer is just something that, you know, you want to have a little fun and test on the side, but it was pretty good when I was using it. Otherwise, Taunt is just really solid over here, so definitely consider using Taunt here. Then you can Taunt like other Tornadus. Among Us, again, the Trick Room matchup. Walking Wake is also something that can actually do relatively well if you bring it to the right matchup. Again, relatively niche, but this is the one niche that it's supposed to be brought into. Then you have this idea with the Venusaur. The Sleep Powder just gives you outs, right? It's still a hyper offensive variant, you know, with Tornadus and Flutter Mane Chiyu stuff. The Umbreon can also help you out here with Yawn Foul Play stuff. So again, this is something to be brought into those Calyrex-Ice Rider games. Yawn just forces out a lot of positional play. Moonlight just makes you heal a little bit more. Now, this Citrus Berry, again, in the video, we put safety goggles here. You know, I was trying out both, so to each their own, but I will put the safety goggles on the Umbreon in the paste just because I was testing out more. The Citrus Berry was just something that I was using on the side. And then this final Groudon here, this one's a little bit more ambitious, but you have some other ideas here with Farigiraf, Cornerstone, Ogerpon, and then the Iron Valiant also has Wide Guard and Coaching, which is something that you can definitely utilize with Groudon here. Raging Bolt, again, a Protosynthesis mod that can do well, you know, with Life Orb chip damage here. And then the Urshifu is just really good into both Calyrex. So something that can also benefit from Coaching, right, with the Iron Valiant here. And then just double sash ideas with the Cornerstone and the Urshifu is really, really good, because then it just forces your opponent to try and target both instead of one, and then the other one gets to keep the sash, and then it's just free damage, more or less, right? So I do like this idea to an extent. I think it needs to be fleshed out a little bit more, but I still wanted to at least show it, just because you can definitely get some success with it. All right, so those are all 4. All right, we're gonna put them in the video description below. But you know, if you're still trying to, you know, build a squad for a regional that you're going to, or for online ladder tournaments, or something for a local for that matter, you need a little bit of assistance, make sure you reach out and sign up for tier 3 on the channel. Tier 3 sub gets you a one-on-one session with me, and then from there we get to build the squad that you need and the way you want it from scratch. So this way you can have something to be able to compete in whatever it is you need. And if you just want to learn, then you can also just sign up anyway. Otherwise, if you just want something for like ladder play, you're not going to any tournaments, we can give you something for ladder as well. Okay, but that's it for now, folks. Let me know what you think of the Groudon teams that we've got here. Again, I just wanted to give you some stuff that was a little different than the way Groudon was being used right now. We know what the Chinese Groudon Sun teams have, and we also know the Jump Fluff variant. I just wanted to show like some other ideas that you can consider moving forward if you really wanted to use Groudon too. Okay, that's it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.